welcome to the Fireside.
Oh, yeah, welcome back.
Welcome back to the Fireside.
In case you're
Education. Romantic notions.
26-ish, something like
This
that?
is 27. Episode 27.
Nice.
And it's the Eagles.
Oh,
that's
beautiful.
Don
Thanks,
Henley's in
man.
the Eagles, right?
Yeah,
So I was right.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, I was right. Hate the fucking Eagles, man.
We don't hate the Eagles.
Nah. So we're back with another episode of Fireside Tats. We're going to talk about tattoos and what else? We're going to talk about that Clippers owner,
Man,
a little
Clippers,
bit.
I just can't even believe it.
Yeah,
you know?
I thought that was pretty shitty.
Yeah, some people just keep their mouths shut, and they could just go through their entire lives, and no one would know that they were just such an idiot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's sad. It's sad.
You have to be careful nowadays with how easy it is to record anything and everything.
Well, I mean, I don't think people should be careful. I mean,
well, if you have opinions like that and you're in the spotlight and you own an NBA team, you got to be a little smarter than that, buddy.
I think smarter, or just keep your mouth shut.
Just shut up.
Nobody wants to hear that.
I thought it was
Not
pretty,
even your mistress.
I like the way that the Clippers handled it though, with coming out with throwing their warm ups in the middle of the floor, and they're wearing their other shirts inside out.
Yep.
So it didn't say Clippers.
It's a silent protest, but I like it.
And it's just another example of why the Grizzlies are so much better than the Clippers, and why that's such a
absolutely the truth.
It's such a crappy rivalry because it's just they have a crappy owner. They have crybabies on their team.
Bunch of crybabies.
We beat them 9 times out of 10. They're just not even very good.
Well, it's because obviously they've got problems at the top.
From the top down, problems. Go Grizzlies.
Go Grizz.
So we'll jump right in. After we alienate the Clippers fans, however many sports fans.
It's not Clippers. It's just
just that guy.
God damn it.
That guy and Blake Griffin.
What was that thing the other day with him spitting his drink into the crowd or throwing his drink on somebody?
I didn't see that.
It's like, he get fouled out in the first
and he spit his drink on
9
someone?
minutes of the game or something, and then just took somebody's drink and threw it on him. It's like, what kind of crap is that, man?
I don't know.
Because that beer was like $14 or something like that.
Yeah, they don't cheap beer. Right. Not at the Clippers game.
Right.
All right, let's get to tattoos.
What you got?
I got some questions today.
What's the first one?
I have a question. So we have a guy that really wants to get something simplistic. To be specific, he wants a single black band around his arm. And I'm not going to try to change this question. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it just like it is. Let me pull it up here. He says, so he wants to get a simple black band on his arm. And by a simple black band, like a solid black band. He sent a photo, but I don't think there's any reason to show it. It looks like
Is it black?
It's black and it's a stripe. It's straight. And and I signed him up for you to do it next week.
Yeah, I've got plenty of time. Just shove them between my 6 and 7 o'clock.
Right. But anyways, he wants to know if he says I'm wondering if the artists care if I want something simple. The impression that I'm getting from the artist and shop that I'm going to is that they sort of look down on these types of minimal designs, and wants to know, how. I don't know if he wants to know how to. I mean, if it's a design you want, then get it.
And we've seen this quite a lot recently. A lot of
minimalistic stuff, and there are a lot of people now that are doing. We saw a handful of people at the last convention that we went to, where they're just doing these all black sleeves with a really thin, like, skin tone kind of like negative thing. That's
so very very positive, very little negative.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
But from the artist standpoint, definitely something that would be like mind-numbingly dull and tedious.
And that's probably the problem there. It's like you're not going to have some artist that's just overjoyed to be doing that piece. But it doesn't mean they don't appreciate your need for it or want for it. It's just like you said, it probably is just not the most exciting thing. They're not going to jump out of their boots to go, I'm glad I got this piece. And it may be because we talk all the time about, it's like we often, like I said, if you look through our portfolios, you're not going to see any tribal. You're not going to see any stuff like that because almost anyone can do it. If you can make a good, solid, straight line, and then you can do that again, and then you can fill for about an hour of really good, solid black work, you're going to get a good tattoo. Whole thing probably shouldn't take an hour, hour and a half at the most, depending on how thick it is.
Yeah, and the challenge there is, he's calling it minimalist or simplistic, and it's not really. It's a challenging. From a design standpoint and from a placing stencil standpoint and all that, it's pretty challenging to do something like that.
Trying to put on a straight stencil around a curved form that probably has different valleys, pitch, and everything to it. You're hard pressed to get it on there that first time, and a lot of people are very good at it. A lot of times they'll get very close and then they'll hand draw in the section that may say warp to the. Even at my best, getting them straight around, you're still going to have a little pitch because of where the paper meets the paper. It's just how it happens.
Yeah, and generally you would place that to the inside so that you can
you can just knock it out or hand draw where they actually go together. So it's not a very complicated tattoo except for someone that's never done that. I think probably one of the main things is that I argue against doing stuff like that is because it ruins a sleeve. Often if we talk to the person for more than a couple minutes, if they're even halfway thinking about turning that into a larger tattoo, now you have this huge black band that you can't do anything with. And I've had to work around other bands from top to bottom and still done full sleeves, but it makes it a lot more challenging, especially when you
makes the cover up more challenging whenever you try to
if you're covering it. A lot of times you can't.
A lot of times you can't even cover it.
Then you're trying to do, like I said, you're just having to deal with not having a fluid piece that goes through there or the main parts going through there. So a lot of times I do try to talk them out, unless that's exactly what they want and they know the kind of the ramifications. Once you put that black band there, especially when you get that thing about 2 or 3 inches out of your armpit or even lower, you're really minimizing the space that you can do on the inside. The outside, maybe you've got a little bit more at the top and a little bit at the bottom, but I think that's the main problem.
I think that you probably aren't, like you said to start, don't get hung up on what on the artist's opinion of it. Most likely they're not going to be excited. It's not a tattoo because it is so technically challenging. It's dull and tedious to do, and at the end of it they really don't have anything to show for it. It's not a portfolio piece. It's not something so you're not going to find anyone, I think, that's really excited to do that piece. That doesn't mean that you're not getting it for the artist. If you really like it, then find someone that's competent. And you mentioned before we started, when we were first talking about this, that a lot of places are just going to want to pass that off to their apprentice or to the low man on the totem pole. And that's where you run into a little bit of a danger because they're not going to execute it as well. And it really takes It really takes technically a pretty competent artist to lay a nice straight stencil like that, to run the lines nice and cleanly, to get the black up against the line, make sure that it's solid. It's one of those things like tribal work that tests you on your technical ability far more than it tests you artistically.
It is,
and
that is the truth. I mean, hopefully they don't knock it right down to the apprentice. You knock it to someone that's been there at least a couple years that doesn't mind. I say doesn't mind doing pieces like that because you may talk to an artist and he just may say, "Hey, you should talk to so and so." They may still be at the shop. They still may be a capable artist and a competent artist, but it may not be the person you want to do it. It may be, like I said, at that point they're going to be a little more selective about their pieces. They want to do exciting pieces. They want to do stuff that does go back in their portfolio. But so don't get put off by that.
Right?
Just get someone that does good work, that does solid work, and they'll do it for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't get offended, or I've tried not to be offended by an artist that just didn't want to do that, or that turned you down or put you or sent you to someone else. Because some people, especially when they're fairly established and they're booked out a little ways and they're a little more selective, that's probably going to be one of those things that they'll turn down, and not because it is a stupid idea or whatever. It's not worthy any of that kind of stuff. It's just that you're. It's not a portfolio piece, and it's going to take work, and it is tedious, and it is all those things that you would like to get some type of gratification for if you do put in that effort as an artist.
It's true. And that may be part of it too. It's like by then they make their own schedule, and they may not want to just plunk you into something where they could be doing a much nicer, bigger piece. And like I said, they may give you good suggestions, so take them.
Yeah.
But if you're still not comfortable with it, go to another shop.
Yeah.
There's not going to be, I'd say, somebody just super excited to see that piece walking in the door. But.
Something to look for if you do end up with, if you are kind of pushed down the line, make sure to check whoever is going to do it, check that portfolio, and the things to look for will be solid, clean line work and solid fills, even if it's not tribal or black, even if it's not, even if they don't have anything in their portfolio that resembles that tattoo. Look for solid fills and solid lines, good, solid, technically sound tattoos. That's going to be the most important thing for someone to put in a tattoo.
And I guarantee you, there's probably there's some shop around there that probably customizes in black work. You're going to find someone that will absolutely not mind doing that piece, because that's their forte.
It shows how I may be completely out of touch because my mind was blown when I saw how many people were getting solid blacks,
it's bad.
Sleeves and stuff, and these big minimalist designs that just I would have no interest at all in doing. But obviously there are artists. The artist that was set up next to us at Austin a few months ago was that's all she did. I mean, her entire book was full of these huge fields of solid color.
But she also did
solid
those
black.
Crazy geometric, positive, negative, a lot of the mandala-like stuff, and so it was a really strange kind of dichotomy. These are really super fine, say patterned textural pieces, and then ones that were just stupid black, big black, big everything black. But she did a great job.
She did. Well, we would sit.
Saved, is that right?
Saved? Is that the name of her? I want to say her name was Rox, ROXX. I don't know.
She was from England. Did great work.
Was she? Okay, I'm thinking. I know who you're talking about. I was thinking of someone else. She was on there one day, but she did the big, solid areas right next to us. Maybe it's the same person. I think she was from England, though.
She was there. She's from England, guaranteed.
Okay.
She said she'd been tattooing about 20 plus years, 22,
that's her
25 years.
Yeah.
Black hair.
Yeah, track that lady down. She'd be good at it.
She'd be good. But you are going to find somebody. There's going to be somebody there that has a portfolio full of black work, and hopefully that gives you a better idea that they can do solid pieces like that.
I hope so. And like, biggest thing is don't be discouraged. No one is going to probably act really excited about it. They may even seem a little bit put off, but you don't always tattoo the things that you want to tattoo. And when you're making a living in this type of work, then you take on work that you don't just absolutely love, and it doesn't mean that the tattoo won't be nice at the end of it all.
I would still probably talk to him about where on your arm you were actually getting that thing, because like I said, that just is a ruin, just ruins places. While if you get it in the middle of your forearm, that could be a natural end to a 3/4 piece later, or just on its own.
I would to see, definitely consider that. More.
Yeah, that's
and I really think that it reads a little cleaner on the below the elbow, those kind of solid lines, than they do up here. They really, because there's more real estate up here, and you kind of follow the the tricep to deltoid area gets a little weird, and down here you don't have quite as many curves.
And depending on how your musculature changes in the next, say, 10, 20 years, I mean, you may bulk up quite a bit, you may get a little thinner, and so those lines are going to wax and wane depending on how much you put there. So I'd say I try to avoid big pieces right there, but that's just.
I agree. I would definitely consider moving it to your forearm from your upper arm, but that's not
easier. Easier to see, easier to do. Would look great. No problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so
I hope we answered that one.
I think we probably did. There's one short one that I wanted to throw in that we can answer quickly.
Really?
I think we can answer quickly.
A short one.
Yeah. Okay, so this person has they have a tattoo. It's a week or so old, and they were told during their aftercare instructions that they should not pick or scratch at their tattoo, which is exactly what the artist should have said.
That's right.
And they said, what about the skin that pretty much falls off by itself when I'm putting on lotion or cream? Right. Should I be concerned with that? Not
at all.
No. That is what don't pick, don't scratch means don't pull. What you want to avoid is pulling skin off before it's ready to come off, and then you can end up with these little kind of spots, these little inconsistencies. But it's going to come off. I mean, it's going to flake, and if it's falling off just because you're showering or because you're putting lotion on, then that skin's ready to come off. There's a difference. between.
And you'll notice that most time, the slowest stuff that it takes a little bit longer is actually the flaking to the line. The actually right up to that, what is basically, we call it more like a perforation. The filling, it's not, it's a little lighter, but while the lining is a little more direct. So that's the end of that tattoo. Well, at the end of that skin, it basically butts right up into your own skin. And so what you really don't want to do is be flaking off what you think is dead skin and then actually pulling out stuff that's still attached to that first layer of epidermis.
Yeah.
Because that will pull stuff out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The best time to really get that off is when you're washing it off. You'll notice it when it dries, of course, it'll come off. When you're putting lotion off, you might pull a little bit off. The best way to actually get that off is when it's completely soaked in water, in the shower, lightly with your hand, no rags, no towels, no loofahs or anything like that.
Yeah.
Definitely soap it up, wash your hands, wash it, and you'll get as much as you can off.
Yeah.
And then whatever comes
with
off
your hands being the most important.
Right, with your hands.
Yeah, not with the rag, not with the loofah, because you can pull a little more off with the.
You get people that, especially if they get a bad sunburn, which is a lot like that epidermis is basically sloughing off. It's just the epidermis. But you'll get people that want to sit there and pull their entire piece off to have this like piece of skin. Which is, I mean, it does not work like that. It has so many spaces that are in, like I said, between the lining and then where the color's really flaking at one point.
Yeah, and where maybe you blend one color to another, and it's worked a little further than this field, and you're pulling off a field of color that maybe got one pass, and it's really kind of sheathing off, and then you start pulling shading. And you get into that thicker area, and all of a sudden you pull a raw spot, and
you will hate it.
You will hate it, and it doesn't always work that it heals badly, but it's not worth taking the chance. But
it's really not.
Yeah, but it's gonna flake. I mean, and hopefully, if you're putting on lotion and big sheets are kind of falling off, that's great. That's exactly probably the way that it should have gone. The tattoo was probably put in well, and your skin wasn't overworked. You want it to kind of flake off like a sunburn, but you don't want to pull that skin before it's ready.
And that's one of those. It's depending on when you got the tattoo, your body's going to slough off that epidermis about every 30 days anyway. About once a month. You may not notice it. You may notice it in the shower, but you're going to slough off that first layer of skin anyway. And so if you get it at the very end of that, where it's sloughed and it's a little thicker than normal, that's probably because you're at that end of that 30-day cycle. Some people tell us, oh, it didn't flake at all. Like, it did flake. You probably just didn't notice it. And it may have been at the very beginning of that cycle where the epidermis wasn't quite set and quite as thick as it would have been at the end of the cycle.
Yeah. I hear that mostly when I've just lined a big piece and they show back up and then you say, how did it heal? Oh, it didn't even peel. Like, well, it did peel. You just didn't peel it. You just didn't see it.
But that's good. That means probably you're washing it enough and putting enough lotion on it that you just didn't see it as a large scale thing.
Yeah. On that subject, because I'm sure that someone's going to ask, and they'll probably ask anyways, when skin is flaking off, I have people all the time that'll send emails or call the shop and say, huge chunks of color are coming off.
Right.
So when the skin flakes, your skin is saturated with that ink from the epidermis that you're from the first layer to the final depth that it lives, and so when the skin peels off, it's going to have ink in it. It doesn't mean the ink beneath that is living in your that stains your skin is still there.
It should be the first 3 or 4 layers of skin, at least the first 3 or 4 layers. And like I said, that is just the epidermis, like you said. Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with sheets of ink falling off because that skin that's peeling is saturated with ink as well.
Yeah, and exactly. If it's peeling, especially in big, broad areas like that, you're peeling on time. That means that it's got to that, say, 4th, 5th day, and it is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. If it hangs on longer than that is when you may be having problems.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, maybe you've kept it encapsulated too long. It's not breathing enough. It needs to get a little more air. Probably cut back on the lotion a little bit and get back to just washing it, soap, water, letting, say, nature do its own.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of times backing off on that lotion.
Yeah.
And you'll notice, especially when the first few days when you're using ointments that don't dry themselves out as well, if you use like an A&D or something like that, then you'll notice that it doesn't dry itself out very well, and you'll kind of start to to break out or get little red spots throughout the tattoo, and really start washing it at that point and just lay off of that. If you're putting A&D on 3 times a day, drop it back to once a day and let it dry out just a little bit so that you don't end up with these big zits in the middle of a rash or breakouts of any kind in the middle of a fresh tattoo. We tell people that they can plan for 2 to 3 weeks for their tattoo to heal, and we don't mean that it's going to take that long to peel. Like you're saying, it should really peel probably within the first 4 or 5 days. You should start to get a good kind of flake, but that kind of fresh, new, shiny skin really has to heal over. And when we say 2 to 3 weeks in between working on a piece, or really I've gotten to where I like even longer. If I work on a lot, or we both work on a lot of larger pieces, and even if I'm 3 weeks or so in between an appointment, I still like to work in a different area of the piece. I'm not crazy about even going into a fairly freshly healed piece, because that shininess, that kind of that fresh skin sticks around quite a while. I think I read something that Guy Atchison mentioned that he thinks it can take 3 to 5 months for it to really fully settle in and heal to where he'd like to work on it again.
Yeah, you'll definitely notice, we've noticed, especially with black work, it takes a good month, 2 months for it to start to actually matte, where the inks themselves, they don't look, say, sepia toned anymore, and they really start to go gray instead of that kind of off browns that it sometimes has with that general redness that you'll get. So that in the same light is probably right. I mean, we often have to work back into pieces. I try to take as a minimum of 3 weeks. Yeah. During the winter, we may even go another week to that, because some people, they're just not getting the same air. They cover up so much more. They're not using the lotions nearly as much. The skin wants to hang on just a little longer. But in general, like you said, about the 4th, 5th day, it should be flaking. But it's not generally healed for another, say, 2 weeks.
3 weeks after that. Yeah, I mean, they're really you'll look at at line work that is maybe a month, 6 weeks old, and you see it in the right, when you're kind of wiping the tattoo down to start going back into it, and you have your light on it, you kind of see that kind of glare, that sheen that's still left on those lines, and you're like, wow, that's a month old, and I can still see that sheen. So so when people say that it should take that long, that 2, 3, 4 weeks to heal, it doesn't mean it takes that long to peel. Right. There's a lot of healing that goes on after you've completely flaked.
Yeah, and then of course, if you kind of ignore it, often the tattoo will just be more sensitive. We didn't really talk about that. That's one of those, why we do it is because it will be more painful. Most people won't sit as long if they try to go, every couple days on something, or every couple weeks.
Yeah, think about skinning your knee or elbow and the scab comes off, and how tender that fresh skin is for a week or more afterwards, and it's essentially the same thing. You may not have damaged the skin quite to that extent. Hopefully you're not scabbing badly with your tattoos, but
hope not.
But it's still the same idea. It's still fresh skin that kind of has to settle back in. So hopefully that helped help that person. Don't worry at all about that thing flaking. That's a good thing.
Don't send an update of it every other day to your artist. He doesn't want to see it.
No.
I mean, the best thing to do is if it's been about 2 or 3 weeks and you are still really worried about it, absolutely go in, but not in that first week or week and a half. It really, let it heal, let it peel, let's see what happens. And they can't do anything about it anyway. They can maybe give you an idea of a different product to use, but if it's just flaking, no big deal.
Yeah, perfect. Let's take a break. We have one more question.
Perfect.
All right, hey, let's get back to work here.
Oh, I'm sorry. And we're back!
We have one more question. We're going to try to go
ahead.
No, go ahead.
I forgot. I brought, they're not in my car, but, I brought our Wu-Tang names up here.
Oh,
just to see if we could throw them in there, but I think it might have to be
next week. Yeah. Shit, I forgot about that.
Yours was crazy. It was like Ultimate Warrior or something. It's
not
it was
that.
Something.
It's not Ultimate Warrior. It's something Warrior, though.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, and yours was the assassin, something assassin.
Yeah, my first one was really bad, but thank God you put my whole name in there. Because at first it was was it Lazy Ninja, Lazy Ninja? So I'm like, wait, they know me too well. Let's put another name. I can't put that on there.
What? It was something assassin. It was yours was.
I'm gonna get it. Like I said, it was.
We'll do it next week.
Next week, you'll get our Wu-Tang names.
All right. Here we go.
Yeah, you had another question.
I have one more question. This is a question from a lady.
Oh, Well, we love ladies.
Yeah, it's our target market.
It's true. I mean,
she says that she has an appointment to get a rather large tattoo starting on her sternum, underneath her boobs, down to her stomach, and their big question was. What should she wear? She wants to wear something that will expose her the least, and but still allow the artist to work. So we don't have to. We can answer what she could wear, but then also how to dress for appropriately for the area that you're getting tattooed. Because I think it's a perfect
good question.
lead in, and if we could get people to wear things that made it easier for us to tattoo, if they had like a guidebook.
Don't wear your Sunday whites or whatever. Don't bring those.
Wife beaters.
I don't. I mean, I have to admit, I tell them wear something that you don't mind getting ink on, especially if you're getting a very long piece, like a full sleeve or something like that. It's like, because if we can cut like the sleeve out of it, it makes it so much easier instead of rolling it up every time. Yeah. If you don't mind getting ink on it and you're going to wear it every time you get tattooed, it makes it so much easier.
A lot of people have a tattoo shirt.
You should have one.
Like if I'm working on a full sleeve, they have a white T-shirt that has one sleeve cut out that they only wear.
Shirt. A tattoo shirt.
A tattoo shirt.
Right.
To answer this girl's question, probably like some type of bikini top is best for her. And the thinner, I always like, for multiple reasons though, but string style bikinis, like tie bikinis instead of thicker banded stuff, because I can move it a little easier. And a lot of times if it's like shoestring kind of tying, I'm thinking more of the bottoms and stuff like that. It makes it easier to like let an area loose and maybe tie it loose and
letting an area loose is good.
Yeah, and pin it up high, stuff like that.
You're gonna get a lot of say pushing and pulling the skin anyway, and you don't want to have unnatural seams when you're probably working near those areas anyway.
Right.
So anything that doesn't cause unnecessary bulging or anything that's like way too tight or looser the better. Like I said, something like that you could actually tighten and loosen as much as you want. I would say something like that, and you could still like wear like say a half shirt or something that if you want to cover the top part of your arms just to stay warm. You can still wear something over that as long as you don't mind pulling it up. And at least, like I said, at least then you're covered. It's easier to get to your sternum. It's easier to either tape the top to, like I said, even that knot out of the place if it's definitely higher on your sternum. It may be one of those things that way you can move it down lower when you're on the top part and up higher when you're on the bottom part.
I think that's that's the big thing is that we just the artist needs to be able to get. It really shouldn't compress you in any way because you don't want it to distort your figure, pull the skin. Natural,
You're going to have it stay, especially when you're putting the stencil on. Sometimes when you're working, you can get away with doing some stuff, but when you put it on, you just don't want any unnatural bulges or anything like that.
And I would say too, I mean, it's probably depends on the person whether or not they'll take this advice. But if your artist needs you to like remove something to lay the stencil at the very least to make sure that you don't have some, because sometimes I need someone to be completely topless or to move their bottoms like where you can't just move their bottoms out of the way because they pull in so tight.
And I think for us, it's like we often only have to do that for a couple of seconds.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
A minute or two.
Yeah, and you can close off the room.
Right.
And I guarantee you, unless you've just gone into some sleazy shop, if you've done your homework and you have a competent artist, they're concerned with getting that stencil on straight. They're not trying to undress you.
They just want to do a nice piece. Yeah. We often talk about it like, it's kind of like when you draw the figure in class or something like that. Often you have no time to stare at a person. You're working. You've got to get a certain amount done in a certain amount of time, and at that point you should just have to. I would say you just have to be a little comfortable with that at the first.
Yeah.
Often we find that we were talking about it a little earlier, but I just worked on a girl that had her first problem. She was getting these wings on her back, and they made her lean over basically take her shirt off and then just lean over an arm rest for the entire tattoo, which is ridiculous. It's like the least you can do is like put on a reverse a shirt.
Yeah, reverse a shirt.
Button down shirt that easily reverses. Simple. You can work on a full back. only the back's exposed. You can tighten or taunt. You can cover as much or as little as you want at that point.
Yeah.
And I think it makes it a little easier. Like if you'll just remember that, like if you can just, even if you've got to buy a shirt that you don't mind cutting up or doing something to, it'll be easier, make you more comfortable, keep you warmer. Yeah. And if there's rarely a time where you need to be like fully nude for hours in a tattoo shop. And if you are uncomfortable with that, tell them, walk out, make another appointment, and then bring something that is appropriate. We often find that people just kind of forget. Like they'll come in and, like we were saying before, they want a tattoo on their stomach or on their hips and stuff, and only wore a sundress. And like, well, or something like you've got to think ahead. Like maybe bring some shorts with you. Bring another set of clothes that makes it easier to get to. You can wear whatever you want around all day, but when you get there, bring another set of clothing. Yeah. Gym shorts. I mean, just tee, something that's comfortable.
Or at the very least, just common sense. If you're getting something in the center of your back, try to wear like something that's backless or that has a really low cut. Don't wear a really tight blouse or whatever.
Again, even then, we sometimes have to make like little ponchos.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Go
ahead. I don't care who brings it up. I wanted to remember that.
We'll take a drape sheet, a larger, say one that covers our massage tables. Yeah. We'll cut a little hole, make a poncho, and at least that way you can tape and tuck and make your own custom shirt, so that
it's almost like a hospital gown or whatever.
At that point, it's just a hospital gown. Yeah. We tape it, tie it. And basically just to get to the area that we need.
We should make a video for tattooers on how to cut their drape sheets to
well, hopefully you know what clients. A poncho is,
Yeah.
You got to cut a hole for the head.
Yeah. You need a head hole. I use a little tape to give some armholes so it's not open on the side.
Exactly.
Slid it up the back.
Tape it off, and it's it's disposable, it's a cost-efficient way.
Yeah.
But
it'll keep people.
They're not comfortable. If you're not, or they're not comfortable with that. Definitely bring your own. Make another appointment.
I've never had anyone that was bothered by that. I've had people that were pretty freaked out thinking, oh my God, I didn't wear the right clothes. Right. And then I present that as a solution and they're like, oh, I don't care what it looks like. This is awesome. I'm just glad I don't have to sit here naked.
Exactly. Or like I said, we've found people that wore their favorite shirt in the shop.
Yeah,
I don't want to get ink on this. I don't want to get ink on this. It's like, well, look at us. I mean, I got ink on every pair of clothes, any shorts and every shirt I have. So
that's the last thing I want to be really worrying about is whether or not I splatter ink on your shirt while I'm working.
Wiping involved. There's A&D that can easily stain clothing and stuff too. So everything that we use is very capable of staining your clothing, especially if it's white. Don't wear white clothes, please.
Yeah,
it's not worth
it. Unless it's your throwaway wife beater.
Well, that's what like I said, wife beater. And you have that one guy that wears the same damn shirt with the 13 on it.
He draws a 13 on it. He actually watches this podcast. Yeah,
well, there you go. I don't mean
he has a tattoo shirt.
He has a tattoo shirt, and if you've got to invest in one that's $2 or $3, by God, do it. I mean, that's nothing.
Yeah.
But if you're uncomfortable or if you really are freaked out about having to expose skin to actually get even the stencil on there, maybe you should rethink what you're getting and where you're getting it.
Yeah.
I mean, often you may find, like we have female artists at the shop. They're there hopefully so that you don't get intimidated by a male artist, or vice versa. I mean, well, I won't say it, but there are some men that only want to get tattooed by a man, and there's some women that only want to get tattooed by women. Yeah. I have a lot of work by women on me, so I think the difference a little bit.
Yeah, and, I think you have the opposite problem. You're a guy that only wants to get tattooed.
No, I've got tattoos by guys all over me.
No, I know that.
But I do.
I'm just saying from this point forward.
Well, this point. But I only throw that out there because if it comes down to that, if you're more comfortable getting tattooed on, or you don't mind basically being a little more comfortable with a woman, go get tattooed by a woman.
And consider that stuff. Consider that stuff when you're choosing your artist. I mean, sort it by women artists. That's that's fine. We have a lot of people that come in specifically, want to be tattooed by a woman. That doesn't bother me in the least. I don't feel like that they're like prejudiced or don't or have to like think I'm gonna grope them or something like that. I think they're just more comfortable.
I think they're just more comfortable, and that's fine. Your life is your life. You should be able to choose who, what, and when you get tattooed.
Sure. So hopefully that helps. But for you specifically, wear a bikini top, so and something that they can move the top or the
like I said, at least
something thin in the middle.
You can still tape it in place if you have to go down the sternum. And normally an artist is only going to work on one section at a time. He will not mind when he gets past that area tying it back up, but make sure it's something you don't mind getting ink on, and probably I would say a little darker, just because then you just don't want to ink on every bit of it. Maybe and then what we don't say sometimes it's like if you want to bring something with you that makes you more comfortable. I mean, pillows or other things, drapery, sheets. No one's going to mind that as long as they can get to the tattoo. If you want to cover yourself from head to toe except for that one thing with a burqa, I don't care as long as we can get to the tattoo. As long as you get to the tattoo, be fine.
That's a good point. Yeah,
hopefully that helps.
I hope so. Consider if you're more comfortable with the certain type of artist, and consider that on the front end. If you think that there's no way around it, and you're going to have to expose yourself at some point, make sure that you're getting tattooed in a shop that's not one big open space where there's 30 people staring at you.
And that's another thing. It's like this maybe to some of the artists that are out there, quit being such fucking dickheads. Like seriously, if you can't get a drape sheet and cover somebody up for half a second, you're being an ass. No matter who's fucking getting off on your, Yaha, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, hopefully, your artist will at least offer that, and if not, you should bring it up. Say, I saw these guys that they use these drape cloths, which is just a disposable, big, usually blue, like plastic line,
blue line.
Yeah, plastic.
It could be white, but absolutely. It just needs to be something that you can, like, just easy to make into disposable clothing.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Great. Or Sean had a good point. You could also wear pasties.
But I mean,
you probably could if you're comfortable with that. You could wear some big pasties.
But
people are comfortable with pasties.
I'm just saying, definitely.
Janet Jackson wears them.
If you could cut a top. I mean, it'd be easy to cut a shirt if you don't want to wear something like that. But also don't wear your favorite bra up there too. If you know that you're getting anywhere near it, they're expensive.
I like having tattoo clothes. That's perfect.
I think it's easier. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes, and like us on Facebook.
Facebook. Thumbs us up.
Thumbs us up on Facebook, and watch us on Twitter, and plug Ugly Art on Instagram.
Right.
I just don't ever do anything with the Fireside Instagram page. I need help with it. It has 3 photos on it.
We'll get you some help.
Okay, good. Maybe we can do some interviews and try to hire a full-time Instagram person. Is that in our budget?
I don't think so.
A little overtime, 40 to 50 hours a week. We have a full-time videographer. Surely we can afford a Twitter and Facebook person.
Well, sure. I mean, first of all, if you'd like to volunteer.
If you'd like to volunteer to be our Twitter and Facebook person.
We're taking interns.
If they're anywhere near Sean's rate, then you're a shoe-in for this.
Thanks, man. Oh, and thanks Yazoo for Sue.
Yeah, and Sean for bringing it.
And, of course, Sean for bringing it. But...
follow us, like us, give us some, send us some questions. Yeah.
If you have a specific absolutely like that, I mean, we can show you how to cut one of those. We can make an easy video how to make clothing out of a drape sheet. I mean, we've done it a million times. Other than that, you've got specific.
Stylistically, the way that we hem our gowns, they're a little different.
Oh, they are absolutely.
I like more of a. I like a little bit of a tapered look. Sometimes you'll go more baggy.
Yeah, I like the baggy.
Yeah.
I mean, look at me.
Yeah. 90s style. All right, guys. Thanks. Y'all have a good night.
Y'all have a good one.